second part of the resolution for the Vaiana Moana hypothetical, that is on trademarks and domain names. Now we assume that a real film has registered Vaiana as an European Union trademark, and the question is the conflict with this shop in Gracia in Barcelona owned by Marta Vaiana that sells necklaces and other fashion products. Okay, on one side it's relatively clear that Abril Films would not be allowed to prevent Marta Vaiana from using her own name as the shop sign and for selling those products, as Article 14.1 of the directive establishes the right to use your own name in your business, subject to honest practices, as you would see in Article 14.2. There's a second possibility, which is Article 14.3, which refers to the protection of local signs rights where this protection exists, and Spain is one of these cases. So in that case also, it could be that Marta Vaiana has a protection for the shop sign itself in Barcelona only, but 14.1, the right to your own name, is probably enough and more direct here. This is not just a fanciful, it's not a coined name for a shop, it's her family name. So the simple answer is no, Locus film will not be, real film will not be allowed, to prevent that use. The second one is the counterattack. That is, could Marta try to prevent the registration or the use of the trademark by Abril Films, the trademark of Vaiana, because it's her family name, and she has this shop? Well, here we could have two lines to investigate. The first one would be the fact that she owns an unregistered trademark, Article 5.4 of the directive, 5.4 A. Now, the reality here is that it's difficult, that she's granted trademark rights for the very limited use and relative fame that she has for that use. But even if she had some, remember that unregistered trademarks are not exactly the same as registered trademarks. You may have some rights, but not all of them. So here probably what she would achieve would be exactly the same as she can achieve with Article 14.1 of the directive. That is, at best, she could have a defense against, the pretenses of Abril Films to prevent her from using their name. She would probably have a right to use her own name, again, but it's very unlikely that she's granted full rights, and especially the jus prohibendi, the right to forbid anybody else for this very limited use she has done of the name. The second possibility is also in Article 4.5.1b, is you will see that we have the possibility to prevent some registrations for some prior rights, and one of those is the right of your own name, a personal name. But this is not the case here. That is, Marta Vaiana is not the one and only Vaiana, is not the famous one, she's not doing a use of her name that the trademark registration would infringe on her name. Once again, it's sort of an accident on both sides, but this could work for, the Leo Messi, Yves Saint Laurent side of the story, but not certainly for somebody that has not a well-established market presence with that name, or a well-established, press coverage presence, fame with the name, to prevent that. Especially because Vaiana as a picture does not interfere at all with her family name or her business activity. So the answer is probably most likely Marta would not be able to prevent the film being called Vaiana and the trademark especially being registered. Finally, we have the question of the domain names that Marta owns. Here, the question of whether the dispute resolution policies are applicable or not has to be assessed registry by registry. This is the first question. Can we apply the Uniform Dispute Resolution Policy, UDRP? Can we apply the URS, the Uniform Rapid Suspension Dispute Resolution Policy. And the simple answer is that UDRP applies to all GTLDs, all generic top-level domains. In that case, it applies to .com and .barcelona, therefore, but it does not apply automatically to CCTLDs. Some of them have opted to adhere to the UDRP. It's not the case of .es. So in that case, UDRP would not be applicable here. You cannot file a complaint under the UDRP, but you would need to check which is the UDRP for .es, which is at the end very similar to UDRP, but not the same. Regarding the URS, this is for the new top-level domains, that is those approved after 2012. In that case, in some of the legacy ones, again, you should go to the registry page and check whether that dispute resolution policy is applicable or not. Here, it would be applicable for .barcelona, but nor for .com, not certainly for .es, which is a generic top-level, a country code top-level domain. So, knowing that, we should go to see whether, let's take the UDRP, which is the most stringent one, the one has the highest requirements. If UDRP does not apply, most likely URS will not, which is something like the little sister for clear, straightforward, clear-cut cases for which we only want suspension. UDRP is also for the transfer, so it has more requirements. The first one is we have a trademark, registered trademark, Vaiana. Are the domain names identical or confusingly similar? Well, Vaiana.com is identical, and Vaiana is similar, and most likely could be considered as confusingly similar for this purpose. Is similar enough to that the complaint most likely would be accepted, not that would prevail, but would be at least acceptable for this condition. The next condition would be whether Marta Vaiana, that is the defendant, the domain name owner, registrant, has any legitimate use defense. And, sorry, Marta probably has two of them. The first one, which is evident, is the second example of legitimate use in the policy, which is she's commonly known as, in fact, that's her name. Vaiana is her family name, and Vaiana is the initial of her first name and the last name. So she's not just commonly known, but that's her real legal name, or part of it, or variations of her legal name. It's not something that's been made up for the domain name purposes, and therefore she has clearly here a defense without any doubt regarding the use of the domain names. And probably she would have another one, which is the first in the examples in the UDRP, and the letter A, which is she's been marketing products, she has been selling products in the marketplace, prior to any knowledge of the trademark being even registered or the film being produced. So he has a bona fide offering of products and services, which is the definition of that legitimate defense. So she has probably two. For sure she has one defense. In that case, there is no need to go in checking whether there is bad faith registration and use. That is, if there is a defense, that's it. Even if you want to go there, you will see that using your own name for selling your real products on the marketplace and doing that prior to any existence of any competing trademark or any knowledge on your site of that cannot be construed in any way as the different examples of bad faith. We are not told here that she's trying to sell the domain or anything like that. So there will be not bad faith, but again, you will not need to check that as she has a legitimate defense, and that's enough in that case. Now, if the UDRP would fail, the URS would also fail, because as I said, this is for even more straightforward cyber squatting cases in which there is a direct damage to the trademark. So in summary, Marta Vaiana would be able to keep all of her domain names if she wishes so. And that's the end of the resolution of the hypothetical. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.